you something, man, you can't do me nada. Things.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Thanks for hanging in there with us. 804-447-0601. 804-447-0601. Back on. I think they enjoy trying to see if they can knock me off my game by acting silly, making faces and all kinds of silly stuff, humming and whatever, to see if they can crack me. And just now they got me, so they enjoying it right now, seeing Marcus J go third person like Big Rube and lose his composure briefly.
Hey,
ain't no half
trying to
step.
take my stuff, man.
Ain't no half stepping, Marcus J. Get down with us, 804-447-0601. We're going to move on and kind of do a quick recap of some of the most prominent games. We're not going through the whole league, but we're going to go through some of them. On the live line, we got another guest that's joining us, our illustrious former host of this time slot. We got Jay Grizzly Green on the line. What's up, brother?
Oh, what's going on, fellas? First of all, great show. First hour was great. Carlton Banks, you need to stay off the mic when the host is running things, man.
You be all right.
Nah, I appreciate that, Grizz, because I don't think, the dirty look I shot him really got through to him. But I think when it comes from you, I think he gets it now.
Hold on, who led that? Who started it?
You did.
No, it was
You
Ruben.
always started.
No,
He always started. But hey, I called first because I'm loving the show. I'm one of y'all biggest fans. I wanted to call and I want to talk about, since y'all talking about this weekend's games, man, I wanted to talk about Sunday night's game. My beloved Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, go for it, man.
High.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Go to Mile High and play Peyton Manning on his first game back. Now, first off, I said last week we was going to give Peyton Manning a hard reality check, and we got to him. We got to him. We sacked him a couple times. But I will tip my hat. They're not Dallas. They're not Washington. They're not Cleveland. They're not Cincinnati. We're talking about Peyton Manning here. So he impressed me as far as, bringing them back from a point in the game where we had the momentum. Now, Ben did, do a little bit extra, which is just one game, though. And I like to remind the listeners, and I like to remind the Cowboy fans in the room, and I like to remind the Redskins fans in the room that it's just one game. Like Nate Jones said earlier, 8 games into the season, check back, and you'll see who's on and who's not. You know what I'm saying?
What you got to say about that, Carl?
All I got to say is this. Who's 0-1 and who's 1-0 right now? Who was talking all that trash about, we're going to get Denver. We're going to light into Peyton Manning. We're going to show him, welcome him back to the NFL. Who was all that?
You could say that, Carlton, because those victories, those big game victories for the Dallas Cowboys don't come often enough. So you have to relish in it this week. I mean, that game against the Giants, and I know the host, Marcus J, is, he was humble in the loss, but to us who win multiple championships every other year or 4 or 5 championships, we take the ebb and flow of the season, as opposed to Dallas treats a game like that like it's the playoffs or like it's the Super Bowl. And so when you win a game like that, understandably, you act like you hit the jackpot.
So
but
when Baltimore hit you with the 2-point conversion last year in the first game of the season and spanked
Carlton, that was last year, and you're not going to argue with
all right, let me stop
about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys.
Let me stop
there is
y'all.
No argument. Thank you.
Let me stop y'all because I want to kind of go away from the fan thing, fighting back and forth. I want to go away from that for a minute, just kind of talk about what we saw on the field. So why don't you do this, Grizz? I know you're a Steelers fan, but I need you to go ahead and critique Peyton Manning's return first, and then tell me what you saw from Ben and those boys.
Well, one of the things that I noticed in the game, or going into the game, a lot of people were looking for was his arm strength, whether he was able to zip the ball like Peyton Manning of old. And under the pressure, he even scuttled for about 10 yards out of the pocket. So, I mean, whoever was, his doctors, kudos to them, they got him back on point. As far as the game is concerned, those wide receivers that Denver has is going to be a problem in the division that they're in. I don't see anybody able to pick, to stop them if they go no huddle and go picking people apart. Because Peyton Manning is one of the best players in the league at doing that no huddle, dinking and dunking, and then boom, he hit you for, like Demaryius Thomas, he hit him for like a 5-yard screen, and then he took it down to the house. So analyzing the game yesterday, I would love as a Steeler fan to see us run a little bit better, being that we got a 3-man rotation backfield once Mendenhall comes back. But again, my hats off to Denver's defense. That's pretty good defense, you know. And I'm sure if we get to see them again later on in the year, hopefully in the playoffs, you know what to look.
All right, Grizzy. Now, I want to ask you a question because Roethlisberger was of one of 5 quarterbacks who threw 40 or more passes yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was also sacked 5 times, and he threw a pick. What's going on with your offensive line?
Well, I mean, DeCastro, our first-round pick out of Stanford, got hurt the next to last game, preseason game. So that was a big chunk. I mean, every time Pittsburgh loses a lineman, we have to reshuffle, and we're ending up putting linemen, guards at tackle and tackle at guards. And I don't care who you are in the NFL, that's going to affect your cohesiveness as a line. But Ben has always been he's been used to that. I mean, really, honestly, guys, look at the last 4 or 5 years. Has Pittsburgh ever had a line?
Yeah, but I mean, 5 sacks, man, in one game is a bit much for Ben. And then with the fact of not having a really strong running game with Isaac Redmond, who did okay, but let's just be honest, y'all are really missing, y'all number 1 running back. I mean, is this?
What I think we're missing is the O-line. We need a solid O-line to come together, and I'm glad that this game is out the way so that we have more time. I'm just watching Baltimore. Baltimore just scored again. I hate them, by the way.
What's the score? What's the score?
The score is 17-3. Baltimore's up second quarter.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead, finish it up.
Quickly, just to get so we can get to the other games, or let y'all get to the other games. I'm glad that we got that game out the way, and even Ben said it on the press conference on the way back to before leaving. He don't like them. I mean, that mile high air takes out one of our good safeties, Ryan Clark, and it wears on players. And I'm sure other players in the league. I haven't played, but other players in the league attest that. So that's not an excuse. Hats off to Denver. Getting ready next week to take on the Jets, and that's going to be another test considering they won. But I'm curious to know how y'all feel about it. I'm going to pass it to Ruben and then hang up and listen about the Redskins victory.
That's a good segue because that's where we was going, Grizz. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you listening, man. Holler back at us next week.
Y'all take care now.
All right, brother. Peace. Rude, your game. You're up. You watched the Washington Redskins yesterday pretty much dismantle New Orleans. They went into New Orleans, a place where that team hadn't lost a game. If I'm not mistaken, they didn't lose at all at home last year. So when you look at what they did yesterday, the Redskins, they pretty much go in there and dismantle them. How you feel about that with your rookie quarterback and everything? Nobody's seen it coming except for maybe Redskins fans.
Well, the reason why nobody saw it coming is because preseason is useless. I mean, I'm gone on record saying basically 4 games of preseason is stupid and is only for financial gain. The good thing about RG3, he only played 3, and he didn't do any running. They say he was just doing it to get acclimated to the speed of the NFL. And you know what? A lot of people was like, in particular, was like, oh, the Redskins line's terrible. RG3's going to get sacked all day. How's he going to stay on 2 feet? Yada, yada, yada. And what do you know? The dude threw 320 yards, 19-26, and currently is the number 1 rated passer in the NFL after 1 week. So my question to everybody else is, our line's so terrible, he only got sacked 1 time. You can say what you want about the Saints, but the Saints are good. Their defense is decent. It's not like terrible. And then on the nerve that a lot of people didn't catch, RG3 even did a cut block on a safety. And the safety got mad. Then he pushed RG3 down. Then they stood up in the face. What? You can't do nothing. And the funny thing about RG3 is everybody thinks he's the size of Michael Vick. RG3 is like 6'3", 220.
Yeah.
He ain't no small punk.
Right.
So, to me, I knew what was coming. He also ran for like 40 yards. So the thing about it is he completely controlled the game from the outset. The little drive got a little field goal. Next thing you know, Garcon is broken out for an 8-yard pass, in which he also got hurt, but he should be good for next week. The biggest point is he shell-shocked the Saints, and it's not because the Saints had this bounty gate or whatever. Will Smith played, and the other dude, I can't remember his name right now, Jonathan Vilma. Jonathan Vilma didn't play, and who just got put on the PUP list today.
Okay,
so he's not
gonna play.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna play anyway. So to me, the bounty gate, you can say whatever you want to say about the coaches, whatever. Basically, this goes to show that preseason don't mean jack, because he didn't run it all in preseason. He just stayed in the pocket, throw it around, blah, blah, blah. No deep passes. It was all 5-yard dumps, and next thing you know, boom, explosion, and it's a blowout.
You know what? All I got to say is this. Turkey Day is coming. I hope he makes it to then. I'm proud of him. I told you, I didn't want to see him do bad. I wanted to see him do good. All right? I just didn't want him to be with Washington.
And I'm glad you brought up Turkey Day, and hoping he makes it, because on Wednesday, Romo got sacked twice. Double as many times as RG3. And if I'm correct, Marcus J., Banks is on record as saying that the Redskins line is worse than the Cowboys line, yet the Redskins threw for more yards, less sacks, and also did not turn over the ball.
Okay, which team has the better front seven, the Saints or the Giants? Who lost their starting center and had to get somebody that they just signed 5 days earlier to play center and gave up only 1 sack of the 2 sacks you're talking about? Don't come in here and talking trash unless you know all the facts, son.
That sounds like the argument that I was saying how the Redskins had to put together a line and you don't know who's going to start. That sounds like the whole rhetoric that I gave that you on public chastised me about. If you're gonna sit here, you better.
Who's got a better front seven?
Kettle Black.
Answer the question. Who's got a better front seven?
It doesn't really matter because both teams are 0-1.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter.
Who's got a better front seven?
It does.
Who's winning the division?
Doesn't really matter.
What?
Right now, you're winning division now because you played a division game. My bad. Go schedule guys. Second of all, you're going to sit here and you're going to hit me with stuff. I'm hitting you with facts, son. I'm hitting you with facts.
You got it in the paper right here.
You got more. There are more sacks given up by Dallas offensive line than the Redskins.
One.
Hey, it doesn't matter how many it is. It's more.
Okay, where's Romo on that list?
And how many times?
Romo on the list?
Romo's number 3.
What? Say it again.
And RG3 is number 1. RG3 is number 1.
Okay, for how long?
Doesn't really matter. Right now, RG3 is 1.
Hold on.
And Romo is 3.
Hold on for that.
Who y'all play next week?
We play Seattle. Who do y'all play next week?
St. Louis. We're going to beat them. I ain't worried about St. Louis.
You ain't worried about St. Louis. Jake Long will come in there and knock some sense into you.
All right. Well, let's move on from the passion.
Stats, son.
Let's talk a little bit more about X's and O's. We'll move away from the Washington game. Washington, just to kind of throw my 2 cents out there. Washington looked great to me. Hadn't seen them look that good in a long time. Even in the 2 games they beat the New York Football Giants last year, they didn't look that good. I think a lot of the reason why they looked as good as they did was because of the man that was pulling the snaps. Quarterback RG3 is definitely going to be someone that we're going to keep our eye on. Kind of remind me of last year when everybody kept their eye on Cam Newton. Is the rest of the supporting cast going to be able to hold up the end of the bargain? Is going to be the question in Washington. But I think they solved their quarterback woes, and I think that's a guy, if he can stay healthy and upright, that's a guy that you could see there for the next 10 or 12 years at least. So we'll move away from that. Let's go back in time to Wednesday night's game. Dallas Cowboys go into New Jersey, and they defeat the New York Football Giants' first game of the season, 24-17. I'm going to take it first, Carlton. I watched the game just as you did, and I found the Cowboys to be well prepared to come into New Jersey with a chip on their shoulder. Jerry Jones said they were going to kick our asses. They kicked our asses. I think if you look at the stats, you'll find that Dallas won every single aspect of this game. It's one of those things, if you look at Eli Manning's stats, he was 21 for 32, which isn't bad. Ain't great, but ain't bad. 213 yards with a touchdown and no picks. So when you look at those numbers, you say, not too bad. But then when you factor in the fact that he didn't pass the eye test to me, he didn't look good to me. He looked like basically what I usually say Tony Romo, and Tony Romo looked basically like what I usually say Eli Manning is. Now, Tony Romo went 22 for 29 with over 303 touchdowns. He looked good. You had a lot of drop passes on the Giants side. Victor Cruz missed a couple. Martellus Bennett missed a couple. But at the end of the day, you win the game, you win the game. 24-17, it wasn't that close. The score says it was, but if you watch the game, it wasn't that close, Carlton.
Exactly. I have to say, we played a very tough front seven. I was impressed with how the offensive line gelled after all the talk that they said they had problems, they had holes. Any team can give up 2 sacks. Great. Yes. One of the sacks, dude just blew up the middle. The first one, I have to admit, came out of nowhere. The second one came because the center had just came into the game, his first time at the game. After that, the offensive line settled down. Romo was able to make his progression, made Kevin Ogletree look like a beast. He finds that third receiver. You shut down one, you shut down two. He's finding that third receiver. That's what he did last season with Laurent Robinson, who got him that big contract. I love it. I'm hoping and praying for big things out of my offense. Shout out to the Giants for giving us a good play. I feel some redemption of how you christened our home and Eli signed his name to the wall. Well, guess what? We get to bust your coming out party, and that's just how I feel about it. So
that's fair. You know me. I'm going to talk as loud as the next guy when it comes before the game. But you know what? If my team goes out and they lose, I'm going to be just as loud and being gracious. That's just how I roll. The first thing I did when the final, second clicked off the clock, the first thing that I did was pull out my phone and call up all my boys who root for the Dallas Cowboys. Did it hurt? Hell yeah. Did I want to do it? Hell no. But I'm one of those people, you're a man of your word, you got to do what you got to do. If you can talk trash before the game,
that's right.
I don't want to hear a whole bunch of excuses
exactly.
at the end of the game because basically we got our ass kicked. There are a few calls that you can point to, but you know what? At the end of the day, calls are going to go both ways. There were a few calls that went against Dallas. Mm-hmm. So, it is what it is. Let's move on. What we're going to do is kind of go around the NFC East right here, and the final team that we haven't talked about is the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to let Big Rube start on this one. What's your thoughts? We watched this game together yesterday. What's your thoughts?
The Eagles are very out of sync. The Eagles play like that, and they may win one game in the NFC East. And that's going to be a luck. I don't even know who that's going to be, but they played horrible, and they play against Cleveland, who really isn't good. But Brandon Weeden didn't help any. He had 4 picks. Freaking Vic had 4 picks. I mean, they have to do something to protect Michael Vick. Until you talk about offensive lines, their offensive line is by far the worst in the NFC East, if not the NFC period. They have to do something.
Right.
I mean, they give that man 3 seconds. They don't even give him a half a second.
Right.
I mean, what are they getting paid for?
And you had some people who said that the Eagles were going to be the class of our division. Now, you got 3 guys in here that have something to say about that.
Yeah.
4 picks in a game. I never thought Michael Vick was a good quarterback. Michael Vick, to me, was a great athlete. I never thought he was a great – well, let me rephrase that. I never thought he was a great quarterback. I thought he was a good quarterback. Never thought he was a great one. He had that one season when he came back from his situation when he was in Philadelphia where he had a Pro Bowl borderline MVP type of season. Since then, the guy can't stay upright. And when he is upright, he makes a lot of bad decisions. I mean, anytime you throw 4 picks, Well,
so I would say 2 of them was not his fault. One was a tip, and one, the other dude just took it.
Do they have a stat for that? Not his fault? I just want to know.
I mean, first of all, I'm not defending Vic.
Well,
I'm just saying that.
You just did.
No, I'm just saying that.
You did.
I mean, but a tip ball is a tip ball. It doesn't matter who throws it.
Yeah, but when you talked about Eli Manning a couple seasons ago, when he had a ton of those interceptions, you had folks who went back and did the numbers, and almost half of them interceptions he threw was on tip passes.
I mean,
but they still count in the interception line, and you still got people who are Eli haters who will come on the air and have things to say about him negative. Now, we heard Nate Jones earlier talk about how he was his dark horse, how he was very impressed with him. That's a guy that played against him. So I don't want to really hear that mess from you guys no more. Let's move on from the Eagles and the Browns. You mentioned a few minutes ago about how the preseason doesn't matter and how it's a waste of time. First team that comes to mind for me when I think about that is the New York Jets, when those cats didn't score a touchdown at all the entire preseason. And then yesterday they came out and they scored 48 points. Now, the first thing I'll say is, Mark Sanchez, if you play like that all season long, you ain't never going to have to worry about that guy. What's his name? Tybo, whatever his name is.
I don't speak it.
Yeah, whatever that guy is. The left-handed guy who they used to like in Denver that they hated so much they traded him to the Jets. But seriously, if you play like that, Mark Sanchez, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, 19 for 27. Look pretty damn good to me. And they put up 27 points by halftime. I mean, the Bills, you can say what you want. The Bills still scored 28 points. And there were a lot of people on Saturday and even Sunday afternoon before this game that thought that the Bills was going to be much improved. They thought they had Fitzpatrick, who was, he signed that big contract and he disappeared last year. They thought he was going to come back and do something this year. And now this morning, those same people who was looking for big things, Carlton Banks, from the Bills this season, now they're not wanting to give the Jets no credit. What's up with that?
Exactly. Fitzpatrick, dude, earn your money. Earn your paycheck. You got the players around you. You got Stevie Smith. You had my man before he got hurt. But you got C.J. Spiller who came in and had a monster of a game, 169 yards. That man can play. He's been waiting for his time to get on the field. He didn't do as well as he could have last year when Fred Jackson went down, but still, that man came and played. You got Chandler at tight end. Beast, you made him look almost all pro last season. Play, earn your money, get the ball downfield. You should not have let the Jets beat you. You made the Jets look like a Super Bowl.
I don't know if I say shit. I don't know if I agree with that. You lose 48-28. I mean, you don't get to say the next day you shouldn't have let that team. They beat your ass.
Yeah, they did.
48-28, Big Rube.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say the Bills are supposed to be good. I'm not going to say anything about the Bills because the Bills showed that they're terrible. And it's not even their offense I'm worried about. What kind of defense gives up 48 points? Now, with that being said, one was a kick return and one was a pick six. The defense had nothing to do with that. Okay. However,
that's
you take away 14 points, that's 34 points. Defense gives up 34 points. They belong in the same category as the Saints defense. You don't give up a whole bunch of points. And if I'm correct, it was like 6 teams who scored 40 points or more yesterday. It just insanity, and the Bills aren't good.
One question,
and neither are the Jets.
One question I'll ask about that, because I don't know if it was an anomaly that they scored 48 points, but I tell you this. Rex Ryan is supposed to be this defensive guru, but his team gave up 28 points on defense.
Oh, they gave up after third quarter. I mean, it was just I think he even put in scrubs. Now, he didn't call the dogs off. He didn't call the offensive dogs off. They scored 48 points.
They scored 48 points. I tell you, yesterday, one of the highlights for me was seeing a 63-yard field goal. Anytime you see them anytime you see the dude lining up, at the 45-yard line or further to kick a field goal, you kind of rolling your eyes. Dude. Big Ruben and I sat on the couch, and we was kind of rolling our eyes. Dude. And then when we saw, and they was perfectly lined up, right in the middle, and as we watched the ball coming, we looked at each other, was like, yo, that joint is on. He gonna, and then you heard, doom, and that joint falls in. Carlton Banks.
Dude, all I got to say is this. Y'all need to find that man a dancer or something to get rid of some of that energy he had, because he was pent up. He let that leg go. I mean, that's all I can say.
I ain't fooling with you, man. It's a family friendly show here.
Family friendly, but he got some aggressions he need to work out and use that leg for, because
the man did his job.
You're right.
And the football guys smiled upon him.
Yeah, they smiled upon him, because how many times have we seen that kick and it falls in the other direction, Carlton?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. The angles, the physics behind it, the whole 9 yards. Only one person I expected to break that record has yet to break it. And that's Seabass. He may be able to do it if they ever play in Denver again, but 63 yards, you come in, you tie the game and win the game.
Real quick on the game. Real quick on the game. 49ers go into Lambeau and they beat the Packers, Big Rube. We watched this game. We know we got a lot of fans that ain't no half Steppin Marcus J. That 49ers fans. We had a few that called in over the prior season, so hopefully they're listening tonight. What can they expect to see from their team this season?
The 49ers?
Yes.
Unfortunately, they play in the NFC West. So, unfortunately, you'll have a double-digit winning season. Unfortunately, you'll make the playoffs. And unfortunately, you'll come up short again.
So
I don't think they
Why
have
you
it.
hating?
I'm not hating. I'm just being honest.
By
I
saying
don't.
unfortunately, you hating.
No, I'm being just honest. Last year they went 15-1. Last year they had the number 1 seed. Last year they went to a championship game. Last year they lost.
Yeah. Well, just a real quick go around the league and kind of pinpoint a couple of real quick things. Tom Brady did what he always does yesterday. No real surprises there. But I did get a kick out of the end of the Jaguars-Vikings game. Boring game. But for the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, Ruben, and the overtime.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good game, man. Once again, that was a game that went to overtime, which once again reminded people how the NFL overtime works. They kicked a field goal. Yay, not yet. If you kick a field goal, that means the team gets another shot. Yeah. And, of course, they stopped them and they won the game.
Yeah. Well, we're going to leave it there. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. NFL recap. We're going to move on to our socially conscious and entertainment hour. In the next segment, we're going to profile a missing or exploited child. And then we're going to ask what the hell. What the hell is going on with the Navy SEAL? What the hell is going on in Chicago? And if we got some time, we're going to get into some other stuff. Marcus J. Ain't no half stepping. For Big Ruben, Carlton Banks. Be back in a minute.